Kyra Hill should have turned 12 last week, but instead of celebrating her birthday, her family have been battling their grief, trying to understand how a trip to a water park for a friend's party ended in her death.
On August the 6th, 2022, what began as a joyful birthday party at a popular spot in Windsor, England, ended in unthinkable tragedy. 11-year-old Kyra Hill, a bright and beloved student from Croydon, had been attending the party at Liquid Leisure, a well-known local destination for water sports, when she went missing in the water. Over an hour later, emergency responders pulled her from the lake, but it was too late. Kyra was pronounced dead at the hospital later that evening. The incident shocked the nation, raising urgent questions about safety standards, supervision, and accountability at water parks. As details began to emerge, so did too a long complicated history surrounding Liquid Leisure, a history that would ultimately culminate in its permanent closure just over a year after Kyra's death. So what exactly happened that day? What went wrong and could it have been prevented? Let's talk about it. This is the story of Kyra Hill and the tragedy at Liquid Leisure. Kyra Hill was an 11-year-old girl from Croydon, South London, who left a deep impression on everyone who knew her. A student at Ark Blake Academy, she was described by her teachers and peers as bright, full of joy and bursting with potential. Her father, Leonard Hill, said she was resolute in her beliefs and never afraid to stand up for what she thought was right. She also had a fun side, full of humour and ambition, dreaming of becoming a professional footballer and proudly supporting Manchester United. If that didn't work out, she told her parents she'd become a lawyer. It is important to note that her family described her as a confident and capable swimmer, calling her a true champion in the water. These words now carry a painful weight that would make the events that followed all the more devastating. Liquid Leisure was one of the UK's largest water adventure parks, situated on a lake in Datchet near Windsor. First opened in 2002, the park quickly became a hotspot for families, offering a variety of water-based attractions, including wakeboarding, water skiing, open water swimming, and its most popular draw, the inflatable aqua park, a floating obstacle course that claimed to be the largest in the world at one point. Over its 2-decade history, Liquid Leisure evolved from a niche sports venue into a broad leisure destination hosting birthday parties, school trips, corporate events and summer camps. However, the park's expansion was not without controversy. In 2020, the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead ordered the park to take down several attractions, including the aqua park, due to lack of planning permission. Liquid Leisure appealed the decision, but the issue remained unresolved at the time of Kyra's death. There were also previous enforcement notices and legal disputes with the council, particularly related to unauthorised structures on site and alleged breaches of conditions. In addition to its more adventurous activities, Liquid Leisure offered designated open water swimming areas promoted as being safe and family friendly. These zones were not part of the aquapark itself, and often less closely monitored. It was in one of these swimming zones where the tragic events of August 6, 2022 would unfold. At around 3:20 PM, 11-year-old Kyra Hill was last seen in the designated open water swimming area by a 17-year-old lifeguard. The lifeguard noticed something unusual, splashing that didn't look right, and dove in to help. Kyra appeared to be in distress, but by the time the lifeguard reached the group, she was told that the child had got out, leading to uncertainty. The lifeguard left the water and radioed for assistance. Water park manager David Novell arrived soon after. Despite the alarming report, no emergency announcement was made, the music was not turned off, and the water was not cleared of other guests. There were conflicting reports about where Kyra was last seen, and the seriousness of the situation appeared to be downplayed. Kyra's mother, who was present at the party, repeatedly asked the staff to take action, to make an announcement, stop the music, and start searching systemically, but her pleas went unanswered. At one point, she and others formed a line in the water to search themselves, but visibility was described as 0, and the water depth was extreme. Despite the increasing urgency, staff at Liquid Leisure waited 37 minutes to call 999. Instead of immediately contacting emergency services, they attempted to reach a private dive master and off-duty firefighter. Chris Knight, the dive master, eventually answered the call around 4:19 p.m. and entered the water at 4:33 p.m. He was initially directed to search the wrong areas, and only after reviewing CCTV footage was Kyra's last known location identified. She was finally located nearly an hour later. Far too late. She was then rushed to Wexham Park Hospital, but was tragically pronounced dead shortly after. Her father remembered that moment he got the call. He said, "As I got that phone call, it was like my heart just got ripped in half straight away, and slowly along the drive it was tearing into smaller pieces." He went on to say, "You know your daughter has gone to an aqua park where the biggest risk to life is drowning. When you get that phone call, there's only one place that Kyra could be, and it's under the water." In the years following her death, investigations uncovered a series of failings at Liquid Leisure that ultimately led to Kyra's death and legal consequences. In 2025, after a full inquest, senior coroner Heidi Connor concluded that Kyra had been unlawfully killed due to gross breaches of health and safety regulations at the park. The inquest heard that there was no emergency action plan or risk assessment in place for designated swimming areas, despite the depth reaching up to 4.67 metres in parts. Visibility in the water was described as virtually zero, yet only signs warning of shallow water were displayed, giving a false impression of safety. Parents were not informed about the risks, including how deep the water was, or the recommended adult-to-child supervision ratio. The coroner stated that these failings were not just procedural oversights, but key contributing factors to her death. She emphasised that things should have been very different, saying, "If there had been systems in place to make parents and carers aware that there were deep parts of the water, that there was a requirement for one adult per 4 children in the water, then it is unlikely that Kyra would have got into trouble in the water as she did." After being classed as an unlawful killing, the owner of Liquid Leisure was fined £80,000 for health and safety violations. The park was then shut down, though has since been reopened this year. Outside the court, Kyra's father described her as precious and irreplaceable, and promised to campaign for stricter regulations at water parks. Kyra Hill's funeral was held in Croydon, South London, where her family, friends and the community gathered to honour her memory and say goodbye. The service marked a profoundly emotional day, filled with grief, love and a longing for justice. Mourners remembered Kyra as a joyful, happy and vibrant child. At her funeral, her father said, "In amongst our terrible, all-consuming grief, there is also anger that our beloved daughter could and should have been saved. May she rest in peace." As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below. I do believe they got off quite lightly in my opinion, but that may just be me. As always, thank you for watching.